Hello, and welcome to the Engineering Management 101 Self-Paced Learning Series. As a reminder, here is the agenda that we will be walking through over the course of the self-paced workshop. It is recommended that you take time to thoughtfully walk through each of the referenced handouts to get the most out of your training. The first thing I want to cover is why am I here? And so I'll walk through three different reasons for why I'm here talking about the importance of technical leadership. The first one is my mom. So when I became a manager, I was talking with her about how I was really excited about this new career path into management. And she was really surprised because she didn't think it fit my personality. She wanted to tell me some stories of some really bad leaders and how they had discouraged her in her career. And this is in the 1980s. She's an independent woman. She's the first to graduate college. That's already really hard. And I was thinking your boss should be the last one encouraging you from quitting the workforce. And so I started to think about the impact that bad bosses can have on a person and wondered if I was making the right career choice myself. And as the saying goes, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers. It's true with my mom, with others, with you, I'm sure, but I wanted to look into just how many people did this impact. And in fact, it was 1 in 2 people. So I found a 2017 Gallup engagement study. And according to this study, based on over 4 decades of extensive talent research, 50% of respondents had left a job to get away from their manager at some point in their career. And this is a study of 27 million different employees on 2.5 million different teams in almost 200 different countries. And so we know that this is a pretty global issue. And the second reason why I'm here is that I know that software engineers are picky when choosing where to work. So looking at our industry specifically, by the end of this year, 2020, the amount of entry-level candidates coming into the workforce looking for software development roles is going to be about 70,000. However, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Employment's projections data, there's going to be about 700,000 open software engineering roles for these candidates in the United States. And so that's about a 10 times the amount of open roles versus qualified candidates. And so I know that as organizations, we are really going to have competition. And so we have to figure out, how do we stand out as preferred places to work, and also not only hire these amazing candidates, but retain people and keep them happy, especially knowing that retention rates are at an all-time low. So according to another Gallup retention report, every year, 1 in 3 workers will quit their jobs for whatever reasons, and software engineers are typically looking for a new role actually every 2 to 2.5 years. And this is a really expensive problem that we can't afford to ignore. $11 billion is lost annually due to employee turnover, and they say that 75% of the causes of employees leaving are actually preventable, which is, in my opinion, why it's so vital that we have great leaders. And the third reason why I'm here is that as I was researching, I saw a gap in engineering leaders who received formal training when they became a boss for the first time. And I think that's quite shocking. You wouldn't expect someone to start a new role with new expectations without training in most other industries. So as accountants and CPAs, even software engineers, Martitians, Lamaze class, especially something as vital as leading a group of people. But unfortunately, we're finding that a majority of new engineering leaders do not receive that formal training and are forced to figure it out on their own. And so to recap, those are the 3 reasons why I'm here and why this topic is especially important to me. I want to provide the resources, techniques, and confidence to new leaders in technology so that organizations can be successful. And at this point, I want you to pause your video and write down some adjectives to describe the worst leader that you've had. I think this goes to show how powerful this can be and how each of us probably have had a leader that we would describe as bad. And when we think back to that experience, we do have negative emotions tied to that job, regardless of the other great things that it entailed. So now let's unpack this a little bit. Why do bosses get a bad rap? I think a lot of things naturally stem from the media that we're exposed to. They are those degrading leaders, they're task givers, they're intimidating, they're the Bill Lumbergs of the world, or they're just relentlessly cruel and cold. And so I think that you emulate the leaders you see when you don't receive that formal training. And there are also these admirable tech companies taking strong stances by trying to see what happens when they completely flatten their orgs and remove managers. Another reason is that I see a lot of organizations promoting their best engineers who shouldn't or aren't ready to be people leaders. I am a strong believer that you can apply technical skills to many industries and jobs, but it's really hard to apply technical skills to leading people directly. Just because you're great at engineering doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be great at leading people right off the bat, because we are truly transitioning from computer science to people science, and that is a complete career change. So we could just give up. However, a company that I really admire, they test these things out and report back to us. So Google wrote a great article about what they learned from a study called Project Oxygen, where they removed all managers from one of their organizations and studied the results. And what they found was that without managers, people were left searching for basic answers to questions and needs, as well as guidance in important areas such as career advice. And so this is great for myself and other people in these roles. I think managers are here to stay. And so now I want to have you pause again for a couple minutes and write down some adjectives of those really great leaders that you've had. Now, these two activities make me realize that we have to think differently about leadership and especially about technical leadership. And so now I want to go back to that same study. They also publish characteristics of really great leaders at Google via their Project Oxygen findings. And these are a lot of different topics that we are actually going to cover in this self-paced learning. I want to also make sure that I touch on the concept of developer-first leadership. And this is a concept that many of the lessons, again, in this course are going to point back to. And this concept is clear and resonates to me personally. It's simple, but does require a mindset shift in the way that you lead. And that is that we work for our teams and not the other way around. And speaking of mindset shifts, studies show that it takes over 2 years to rewire your brain to focus on these new skills required of being a great people leader, because success looks a lot different now that you are a manager. So as an individual contributor, it was about your individual contributions. Are you accomplishing enough? Fast enough? Are you continuing to enhance your technical skills? And as a manager, it's more about, are you removing blockers so that your team can accomplish enough? Are you doing what you can to seek opportunities, connections, and projects for your team to continue enhancing their skills and knowledge? So as you can see, this is a very, very big change. And so another thing I'd like to point out is that 2 years is a long time. And at that point, you have to be okay with the fact that your technical skills will likely start to deteriorate. And that's okay because we're focusing on leadership skills instead. And this wraps up the first section of the self-paced training. Next, please start the video titled Section 2, Purposeful Leadership.